Hi, my name is Karl Stobbe, and I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite paintings at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, St. Cecilia, painted by Giuseppe Puglia in the early 1600s in Rome. It's easy to see why this is one of my favorite paintings. St. Cecilia, who's the patron saint of music, engaged in a conversation with an angel, dramatically emerging from darkness into light with a billowing expanse of beautiful flowing robes. It's a very dramatic painting and about one of my favorite topics, being a musician myself. The other thing that I love about this is that it's really a historical document on the development of the violin. The violin is invented, and we know of its existence by 1520 in Italy. We only know of its existence through literary sources. We don't know exactly what they look like, and we think that essentially it is more or less this form. By the 1530s, we have some early paintings of violins, and those paintings treat the violin rather fantastically. The corners are elongated, and really it's kind of a whimsical improvisation of what a violin looked like in those paintings. It's not until the 1560s and 70s that we have a few surviving instruments, and they do look a lot like the violins that we have now, and they are beautifully crafted already by that time. This is my violin from 1806 in Paris, and it follows that tradition of instrument that started at that time. I'm very lucky to have this one. Here in the early 1600s, Puglia has taken a really studious approach to painting the violin. The violin in the painting looks a lot like this one. It is more or less in the correct proportions. St. Cecilia is in fact holding a violin a lot like we violinists would hold it like this when we are looking at it or when we are discussing different aspects of different instruments, violin instruments. The way that St. Cecilia is holding the bow in the painting, that's a Baroque bow. This bow is a modern bow, and they came into existence in the late 1700s. But the way that St. Cecilia is holding the bow looks a lot like the way I would hold the bow. So Puglia went to a lot of effort to make sure that he was being accurate in how St. Cecilia was looking at the instrument and discussing the instrument. And that tells us a lot about what was happening in society. Previous to the 1600s, the violin was a folk instrument. It was used mostly for dance music. And it's only in the early 1600s that the violin starts making its way into more formal settings, more church settings. So St. Cecilia before this time would have usually been posed with an organ or playing the organ or with a viol, and a viol is a distant cousin of the violin. And here we see St. Cecilia holding a violin, but not only that, also discussing with an angel a score. And it's only 1607 is the first time we have music that has survived, that is written specifically for a violin. And here St. Cecilia is looking at a score and discussing the score with the violin. So we know that the violin has, by this point, 1620s, 30s, made its way into the more formal setting. And that is really an interesting part of what this painting is. It's a very early document and a very early historical representation of what Italian society thought of the violin there, where you could find the violin, and how important it was in musical circles. So I hope that the next time you are in the Winnipeg Art Gallery that you will spend a few extra minutes admiring Puglia's wonderful painting, St. Cecilia.